China and India are blaming each other after a fatal clash at the Himalayan border. Earlier this week, at least 20 Indian soldiers were killed in a violent face-off. Chinese forces reportedly saw casualties as well. Officials say no shots were fired, but the two sides threw rocks, prompting a violent fight. Now the two nations are meeting to discuss how to de-escalate the situation. So I want to bring in CBSN contributor Isaac Stonefish. He's a senior fellow at the Asia Society Center on U.S. China relations. Isaac, this was the deadliest conflict between these two nations in 45 years. Can you give us some context? What really led to this violent clash?
In April, the Indian Army canceled its regular patrols exercises in the area, and Beijing decided to use that as an opportunity to bring more troops, to build more installations down there. And with something as complicated and as remote as the standoff between these two nations in a very, very far away border region, it's difficult to know exactly what happened, but it seems to be more of an escalation on Beijing's side than on New Delhi's side.
Well, the death of Indian soldiers has left many in that nation angry. Can you talk a little bit more about the fallout and how these two countries could work towards de-escalation?
There's increasing frustration in India with Beijing's behavior. You have a lot of people who feel resentment for Beijing's support of Pakistan, which has long been an enemy of India. And there are calls to boycott Chinese goods, though it seems like that probably won't go that far. In terms of how the two sides can de-escalate, probably one side is going to have to blink first. And right now, neither side has shown too much of a willingness to do that. Certainly, a broader conflict is not in either side's interest, so hopefully cooler heads will prevail and some sort of negotiations can very seriously begin so that we don't have a serious conflict here.
Well, the U.S. is one of India's allies, and President Trump has a complicated relationship with President Xi of China. I'm wondering if the American government might get involved or be pulled into this conflict in any way.
Trump has offered to mediate at times in the past, and the general response from the Chinese and Indian side has been a polite but firm, no thank you, we'll handle this. It is certainly possible that the U.S. will become involved and will be much more supportive of the Indian side than of the Chinese side because of the way that this country's relationship with China is going. It does seem like this is beneficial to American strategic interests in the region because this is something that has pushed New Delhi, long-time government that doesn't like to align with other nations on issues of foreign policy, closer to U.S. interests. So there are some policymakers in D.C. who see this, sadly, this sad event as a positive sign.
Before I let you go, I want to ask you about rising tensions between North and South Korea. Earlier this week, the North blew up a liaison office building that it shared with the South. I'm wondering what was behind Pyongyang's decision and what Kim Jong-un is really after. And I remember when I lived in Korea, there was such optimism about the Sunshine Policy and the thoughts of reconciliation. I'm wondering if you see any path towards that now.
Gosh, I mean, this was such a cinematic sign of deteriorating relations, and it comes almost exactly 2 years after Trump and Kim Jong-un's history-making summit in Singapore. And really what North Korea is trying to communicate, it seems, is, okay, hold on, this is not working. We're going to go in an entirely different direction. And North Korea has done this many times in the past, where it'll come close to South Korea. It'll try to get a lot out of them, and then it'll feel like, okay, we're going to pull back. We need more concessions. And I think we're going to keep seeing a pattern where North Korea goes close to South Korea and then pushes back, tries to get further concessions until something big changes.
Certainly, it's been like a sine wave of relations improving and then deteriorating. Isaac Stonefish, thank you.
Thank you.